All right. Hello and welcome to another week of Obscure and Dead Reviews. I'm Azzy.
I'm Mouse.
And I am Ian.
Welcome, Ian. This week we are reviewing an album that was recommended to us in our YouTube comments. I think about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I don't remember what video it was on. But it is the Long Lost's new release at this late hour.
This album is a married couple, Anka and Patrick. The album was released on February 16th, and this is their third
album.
Third album, or is it fourth?
Yep,
third album.
Third.
Race.
It's their first album after the birth of their son, who has a track on this album dedicated to him.
Oh.
Yeah. So just a few more technical aspects that we thought were neat about this album is it was produced and mixed partially by Hillary Johnson, aka Hi-Fi Hillary, who does the Kale Shelter streams. And she has also done mixing and mastering work for at least Boot Blacks and Second Still that I know of.
And just to set the tone of their aesthetic, their Bandcamp poetry says that this is an album about having a haunted heart, about waiting and coming home, about dancing with ghosts, and finding the place we're meant to be with the one you're meant to be with.
Yeah, it's a whole album of spooky love songs, which I'm not usually a big fan of, but I did like
spooky love songs. So
there were some that were a little bit too over the top for me, but we'll go through it.
And I'm not exactly sure how to go through this. This album has a variety of sounds, a variety of styles.
So that could be attributed because they say that they are influenced by goth and deathrock and punk, and they infuse it with rock swirls. That's how they describe themselves. So I think that
rock swirls.
Rock swirls.
Squirrels?
It sounds like you're saying squirrels.
Rock swirls.
Squirrels, not squirrels.
So to start off the bat, the first couple of songs, so the intro, the 1 minute intro is really like this elongated introduction to track 2.
It's like a lullaby chant.
It's a lullaby chant. So, like a folksy lullaby, like something you may have heard before, or it may be all original. I'm not actually sure. And then, it busts into Back in the Dark with You, which is like a rocking version of a lullaby tune.
Yeah, I thought it was really catchy.
That was pretty neat. And Hours Children Sleep has that same kind of, like a traditional lullaby type of vibe, like a rocky version of that.
That makes sense. That is the song that is inspired by their son.
Oh, their newborn son. Okay.
I don't know how old he is. I think he looked old in the pictures I saw. I don't know when he was born.
Okay.
It was somewhere between the second and this.
We don't need to guess. No. So by the time I reach track 3, I'm assuming that this album is going to be folksy, lullaby, rocky, kind of, like spooky goth, almost like ghost stories. And I took a break because that song, Hours Children Sleep, was very sweet and everything, but it wasn't like campy goth. It wasn't fun goth.
No, it wasn't as campy as the intro and track 2, Back in the Dark with You, were.
Mm-hmm. And, it got me thinking about their first album, came out in 2004, called Scary Songs to Play in the Dark. 2014, oh my God, thank you. 2014. And the cover looks like that Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. And I went back and listened to that album, and that has the camp, and that has all your haunted house effects built into the music, and it was fun. And then I came back to the album.
Right, and I think that's what was confusing for me with this album was as a listener, I was having a difficult time trying to place, were they going for super serious or were they trying to play it up more? I think the cohesion of that left me a little bit confused.
I think this album is reaching for the campy factor with some of the lyrics. Your lyrics about ghosts and longing and all of that stuff.
Well, I think it's more than just the lyrics. They also sample from a lot of, like B horror movies, like little snippets of dialogue. Plus, you have all of these like 70s and 80s kind of just like horror synths, like the weird sounding piano, the organ, the harpsichord, these sort of woven throughout the entire album.
I did enjoy that. I thought their music was spot on about going for that fun gothy vibe, campy goth vibe, with all of those instruments that you would only hear in like the old fun movies that we love. But it wasn't enough. I feel like it wasn't enough. And maybe it was the vocals that made me feel like it wasn't enough. And when I say enough, I meant that if you want to do campy, fun, spooky, dial it up to 11 so that we know for sure, you're going for this vibe. But it seems like since 2014, they've dialed that back a little bit, maybe going for a new aesthetic.
And I want to say, I liked Anka's vocals. I enjoyed them. But again, going back to what you're saying, it's like it didn't feel like it matched what they were trying to give. So it left me kind of confused. I'm like, well, this is really sweet and pretty. And, there's emotion here. But then you're singing about kind of campy things. So it kind of left me trying to figure out and put the pieces together as a listener.
When I got to track 4, which is called And I'll Play the Part of the Ghost, this is a completely instrumental track. It really got me listening to the music itself and the instruments that they pulled out of who knows where. This one had kind of like a Middle Eastern Arabic tune that may have been inspired by belly dancers or the Renaissance fair. I'm not even sure exactly, but it's a beautiful song. And without the vocals there, I was able to actually hear the music for the first time, and I really enjoyed this track. And going back to the rest of it, while I like the vocals per se, there were some tracks where the vocals weren't energetic enough. There was a track where there was this cool psychobilly vibe going on, like a surf goth vibe, but the vocals were not energetic to me. And I think that if those had been picked up a notch, that song would have been fun. But it was just short of fun.
So, leading into this, we had talked about the song Red Ropes, and that's a good example of a song for me that it was just it starts out really soft and gentle and has a totally different vibe of what you get to a minute and a half into the song, where suddenly it's this kind of 90s guitar rock.
No, that's not the one that starts off soft and gentle. You're thinking of The End That Calls Us Home.
Is that the one?
The End That Calls Us Home starts off more gentle. You've got Anka singing, and then it comes into the guitar. But Red Ropes starts out with this grungy guitar. And this is the one that I felt had a 70s inspired 90s alt music.
Right.
Vibe. That one, I really loved Red Ropes.
Well, I mean, talking about low energy, I felt like the second half of the album was really kind of that, lower vibe, but except for track 9, Buffalora.
I loved Buffalora.
Which is a great song.
It really is a great energetic song. Now, I don't know if that's Patrick singing.
They don't attribute anyone else for vocals, so I would assume
it's a different vocal, and that cinched it for me. Because that was fun. It was energetic and fun, and it's
based off an Italian horror movie about love and zombies.
That's awesome.
Well, and is it because you like what it's from and you like the lyrics to it?
I liked the mood it put me in.
Yeah.
I was driving to it. I was yeah.
I liked the energy of it, the arrangement of it, the pauses, the explosions. I liked the line death, the horror.
I was about to say, you like the lyrics, and the lyrics
I like the lyrics.
The lyrics are very good.
But as opposed to at this late hour, you've still got that energetic vibe in the music, but then the vocals just bring it back to it just brings it down a bit. So I think one of the things that could have been helped in, I don't know if it was production or mastering, but if Anka's vocals were, instead of lying on top of the music, like bring her back down so that she's part of the music or she's an instrument. And I think that would have kept that energy up, in my opinion.
I feel kind of torn on that. Like I do, because I really adore her vocals. Like I feel like, I think maybe that's what's confusing me too about it. Just kind of like what you said, like it's the way it's mastered. It's like there's some songs where her vocals should have been the center instrument, the centerpiece of the song, and then there's other ones like it felt like maybe it should have been dialed back a little bit. And I think that's where I got confused with, like, looking at the last song, the 10th track, the end that calls us home. Like, it starts out so nice and sweet, and her voice really shines there, and then it just like veers off in this completely different direction, and I'm just left kind of confused.
I think, and I'm not sure if this is what you're trying to describe, but I think on there's several tracks, probably like 4 throughout the album, that are slower, almost ethereal folk.
Right.
They're almost like folk songs. They have that traditional sound, like it could be like a Celtic folk lullaby that was from 1300 or something. Her voice really shines on those. But then once you have the songs that are more rocky, I think her voice doesn't really keep up with those because she's better at the slower romantic tunes. Maybe. And maybe that's why Patrick's voice totally works with a song like Buffalora.
Yeah.
I just like that one was less pretty. I'm not really a big fan of pretty music.
You're not a fan of pretty. Okay. So you like when the songs were not pretty.
No, I like when things get a little weird. You know how I am. You know my taste in music.
I like when things are pretty. I
wouldn't say I like weird and I like pretty, but I don't like messy.
Interesting.
Okay. Well, I think that I liked this album better than the both of you did, but my favorite tracks were Buffalora and Back in the Dark with You. What about
you?
Cool.
I'd say my favorite would be Red Ropes and Buffalora.
I'm going to go with Red Ropes as well.
Do you have a second, a runner-up?
I think I'd probably have to go with Buffalora as well. So we all three like Buffalora. Like, that's fun.
It's a fun fucking track.
It is fun. It is fun. That is the signature track. If we were to like put a written review like in a zine, we'd be like recommended track Buffalora.
Yeah. That was a great track.
Plus Back in the Dark.
I think this might be a good place to wrap this up. We've been going for about 15 minutes.
Oh geez. Okay.
Yeah. So thank you, Ian, for joining us this week. We should have you back more often.
Thank you for having me.
I was like, wait, is this silence awkward? I can't tell.
Yes.
Yeah, no, thank you. You know I love hanging out with you two. So yes, thank you for having me.
Yep. And next week we will be reviewing Sex Gang Children's new album, Oligarch, with Malik. They'll be back and joining us again on that one. This is their pick. And as always, thank you for joining us on Wednesdays. We'll see you on Monday on twitch.tv/Obscura Undead for our album listening party for the album we are reviewing next week.
At 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah, that. Wait, no, mouse is over there. That. But yeah, thanks for joining us. And as always, a big thank you to our lovely Patreon supporters and Twitch subscribers and everyone who watches the channel. Like, click, subscribe. We should probably say that sooner. Whatever. Follow us on our socials, and we'll see you next time.
Smash that like button.
I thought we were not going to say that. Smash that like.
This ignorance of consciousness, despair the self will find eternal.